Well, hey guys, welcome back. Or maybe you should be telling me welcome back, since I haven't been able to put out as many videos as I would like to and as I normally used to. But I'm working on that, and I'm hoping to be able to get that production up very soon. But today I have a comparison that I thought would be pretty interesting, if not entertaining, and possibly and hopefully informative. And that is Mossberg's MC2C, which is the slightly larger version than its subcompact that I showed you a long time ago, and Springfield Armory's Hellcat Pro. In this case, this is the Hellcat Pro with the OSP and the thumb safety as well. Both of them have an optic on them. They're both, I could interchange these optics. They both take the same footprint for red dots. And they are very similar in size. I'll show you the specs in a bit and show you some, closer photos of comparing the sizes of them. But very, very similar in size and very similar in many ways. Let's find out where they may not be similar. And one thing you may notice that's not similar is we've said farewell to the pink target downrange because I ran out of pink target paint, and I don't think the Steel Target Paint Company makes pink anymore. I think that was just a promotion for breast cancer awareness a long time ago when I bought a whole ginormous case of it. So now you can actually feel like the channel has become slightly more masculine because we've said goodbye to the pink, but hello to the blue. Although it is a very pretty pastel shade of robin's egg blue, so we're not all that tough. Okay, enough talking before I get even stupider. Starting out with the Mossberg MC2C. This is a gun that I've only really spent a limited amount of time with at the range, but it was good time spent at the range. So it is what I consider to be broken in and tested and functioning and all that. As the same with this particular Hellcat. I have several different Hellcats, but that Hellcat Pro is also one that I have recently done some work with. Okay, so I'm going to try to leave that pretty blue undamaged and turn up my optic so I can see it. There we go. This is the hollow sun, by the way, on here. All right. so much for the hollow sun being sighted in. I don't think it is at all. I'm going to go with luckily I can co-witness, so I'm going to go with the 3-dot sights. There we go. When all else fails, go old school. What I was going to say is I'm going to try not to damage that blue. That is the objective of that target, and that is, by the way, provided by TA Targets. All of the steel targets that you'll see in my videos are provided by TA. Shooting Herder's ammunition, 115 grain. I will be going through different types and different brands. I'll call it out if I think it's significant, but I may or may not forget to do that. I'm also going to mix in some of my own competition load stuff. So. Okay, well, I did okay with the MC2C. That target is about 12 yards, 13 yards downrange. And again, just offhand, my goal, at least for a minute, is to try to avoid hitting the blue. I just don't want to mess up that pretty blue paint. I'm trying to keep them all in the middle. Let's see how I can do with the Hellcat. And with this one, I am going to try the red dot. It looks like it's much more zeroed And then I'll start giving you some thoughts between the two. I think I like it better with the color around the white instead of the other way. I used to have that center painted in pink with white around it. Okay, well, 10 rounds from each handgun, and I was able to keep the blue paint perfect. I guess I'll quit while I'm ahead. See you guys. Yeah. So both guns are really good shooters. They both feel really great in the hand. Both triggers feel nice. Now I'm going to start to pay a little bit more attention to those subtleties. See if I can kind of call them out while I'm shooting, because this is, after all, a comparison. All right, I tweaked the hollow sun a little bit. I think I got it a lot closer to a 0. It's just a rough eyeball adjustment out here at the range, but it should be a lot closer, and I'm going to see if I can maybe put some hits on those round targets on the falling tree down there. All right, looks like we might be on. Oh, there's a challenge. Let's see if I can get it. Okay, now the Hellcat. And I will go to the other plate since it's clean. Well, I'm hitting them low, or missing low, one of the two. All right. Where am I? There we go. Had to be low. I don't know what's going on there. I was holding actually a little high of center, just a tiny bit high of center, but I think I'm missing low. Okay, I'm going to go back to this Hellcat and see if I can figure out whether I'm shooting high or low, but I was missing those targets, which bothers me because I shouldn't be. I think I'm going to ignore the red dot and just use the co-witnessing sights. Might as well clean up the other one. There we go. All right, so when you can't trust digital, go analog. Or not. That was me. I could feel a flinch on that one. All right. I feel a little better now that I figured that out. So let me keep going with the Mossberg. Man, this hollow sight just puts a super big red ring on that target. See, one of the things for me, especially on a carry gun, and I've said this before, but almost any handgun, I find it important to be able to co-witness with your red dot and your fixed sights, because if you lose your zero on your red dot, you're kind of screwed if you can't co-witness with your iron sights. And like today, with both of these guns, really, just to make sure I'm on, I'll just go to the iron sights and I can look right through the glass, ignore the red dot, and just shoot the open sights. And I'm having better luck doing that. Okay, let me tell you a couple things that I think are different between these two guns. The magazines, number one. So I've been obviously loading both magazines, and the Mossberg magazines have a much weaker follower spring than the Springfield Armory. So a lot less pressure needed to push the follower down and put the next round in the Mossberg. Now, it doesn't mean anything one way or the other, because I haven't had it cause me any kind of problem, but it's just something that is clearly evident when I'm loading both magazines back to back, going from one to the other, that it's like, wow, I got to push a lot harder with the Springfield than I do with the Mossberg. So that's one. And on the topic of magazines, the Mossberg comes with 2 magazines, as does the Springfield, but the Mossberg's 2 magazines are a 14 rounder with the flush base plate and a 16 rounder with the extended base plate. 14 and 16, just a weird number. Very non-traditional, right? Usually it would be like 15 and 17, something like that. But 14 and 16. The Springfield Hellcat is 15 rounds. That's the magazine for the Hellcat Pro. This is what we're comparing to. And they're all just 15 rounds. So the net loadout is really the same, 30 rounds total. It's just that they're 14, 16 with the Mossberg. Thought you might get a kick out of that, like I did. Doesn't take much, does it? Okay, back to it. Let me see. The controls on both guns are really good. I like the grip textures on both. They're different. They're definitely different types of designs. I think the Hellcat gives you a little more grip everywhere, a little more texture everywhere. So let me think about the trigger while I'm shooting it right now. It is a very crisp trigger with a nice reset. You can probably hear it reset. Very affirmative and tactile and audible. The brake is very, very crisp. Well, I got a twofer there. There's no take up when you're at the reset. It's just, there's no sponginess there at all. It goes right at the brake again. So, it's definitely a very good trigger. I would say probably, maybe as much as 9 out of 10, as far as, an off the shelf standard polymer gun. And I wasn't able to clean the plate up with it, but that's because I was busy talking to you. You threw my concentration off. because these are, you know, striker fired guns, there aren't really much in the way of controls. Again, the Hellcat Pro does have the manual safety, which I'm not even bothering to use today, but just as a point of distinction, it's available with that. It's also available without it. Let me think about the trigger on this one now while I shoot it. So I'm pretty sure I'm on record as liking this trigger anyway. It's got a shorter reset. It's also a very tactile and affirmative reset. Not quite as much so as the Mossberg. Similarly, when you're at the reset point, you are also right back at the wall for the brake. There's no squishiness there, no sponginess, no additional take up. They both have a safety blade. Neither one is anything that I notice really. Ooh, here's a challenge. See if I can get this. Nice. From where I'm standing, I don't know what that camera will show, but it was about a sliver that I could see. Okay, back to the Mossberg. I'm not really talking about the sight, the optic, because that's not part of the gun. They are both red dot compatible. They both handle them really well. That's really all you need to know, I think, right? I think an accuracy test would be pointless. Because unless you were going to put this in a ransom rest kind of vise, it's really, I don't think it's really going to show anything if I try to do an accuracy test. I think they both put them where I'm pointing them at this distance, and again, I'm between 13 and 15 yards. Is that target array, so that's pretty close. And at this distance, they're same. You know, the misses are on me, and the hits are, you know, on the gun. But the consistency is definitely there between both of them. So I can't say either one of them would be more accurate than the other, and that's what I would expect. All right, let's run the next mag through the Hellcat. Now I am on record as being a pretty big Hellcat fan. I love the sights, among lots of other things, but the Mossberg has a nice set of 3-dot sights, but it really can't touch this the sights on the Hellcat. This U notch that on the rear with that front, nice glowing front sight. Get them all on one side. Can I? Go back to the middle guy. Okay. Magazines both drop nice out of both of them. Magazine release works good without having to shift your grip or anything like that. Okay, so at the end of a comparison, there should be some sort of summary to clarify the points that I think are the important ones and any key differences that I noticed. And as I've said throughout, these two guns are very similar, and that's why I brought them both out today, because, you know, I got my hands on the Mossberg. I said, you know, this is very, very like the Hellcat Pro. So if you're in the market for a gun of this type, a gun that is compact and thin for, you know, good concealed carry purposes, but also still big enough, you know, to have that full-sized grip, maybe a little more length in the barrel. These guns are both in that category, and they're both very well suited to that purpose. I don't think one of them is necessarily better than the other. And as I said, you know, trying to do some sort of formal accuracy test would have been ridiculous. All you would have seen was, you know, anything I did wrong, because I think they both would be capable of putting extremely good groups on paper. Capacity is essentially a wash. It's just that with the Hellcat, you have 15 and 15. So if that consistency is important to you, if you want to know when you slam a magazine into the gun how many rounds there are in there without having to think about it, then that tips in favor, certainly, of the Hellcat. So if I put the lower capacity or standard capacity magazine into the Mossberg, and I hold them up here pretty even, they're negligible, really negligible. I don't know if you can see that good here, but you know, the angles are slightly different by a degree or two, but virtually the exact same height. So you're not really gaining or saving anything with the 14 rounds versus 15 rounds, although I guess, presumably, if Mossberg made two 15-round magazines, they would both be a little bit longer. And maybe that's why. Maybe that's why they did it, so they could squeeze into that form factor that was a goal. But I don't think that's a big deal. It's just a distinction, something to differentiate the two. They both have fantastic triggers. I like the triggers a lot. I probably still prefer the Hellcat trigger. I think it is just a little bit crisper and lighter maybe than the Mossberg, but boy, it's really close, really close. Grip texture, in my opinion, is better, or at least more thorough, on the Springfield Armory Hellcat Pro than it is on the Mossberg. But that's really a moot point because, you know, for me, I'm going to put a rubberized Talon grip on both of these guns, you know, if they're going to be regulars in my rotation. So it doesn't matter really that much. But if you're interested in, you know, how it comes out of the box, you've got a much more complete coverage of grip texture on the Hellcat Pro than you do on the Mossberg. They both have cocking serrations fore and aft on the slide. They're different types of design, but they're both very effective. One very key difference is the takedown method for the Mossberg is a lot more steps. Well, not a lot more steps, but it's, for most people, it's something completely different than they're used to with a striker fired gun. You have to remove the back plate on the slide during the takedown process and actually remove the striker assembly before you can remove, you know, before you can clean the gun and take it down and all that. So that's part of it. That's sort of a good news, bad news thing, I think. It's extra steps, and for a lot of people, it's a bit intimidating the first time or two that you do it. It's really very simple, again, once, like a lot of things, once you get used to it. The advantage is that it forces you to inspect and clean the striker channel and the striker assembly itself every single time you field strip the gun. So that's maybe a good thing. Bottom line, I like both of these. I like both of these guns a lot. I'm a Springfield Armory fan, so I'm probably going to lean toward the Hellcat Pro. And another reason I would lean toward the Hellcat Pro is aftermarket support. The Hellcat Pro is it's a major gun from one of the major companies. Not that Mossberg's not a major company by any stretch, but they're not known for pistols. They're not known for handguns, and that's not a brand people are going to think about as much as they will Springfield Armory for a handgun. Because of that, the aftermarket support is there already for the Hellcat Pro, and it's only going to increase. So holsters and magazines and, you know, optics and sights and anything else you would want to do, any way you would want to modify the gun, or, you know, anything you would need to do to upgrade it, is going to be much more readily available for the Springfield than it is for the Mossberg. Probably especially holsters for a while. So that's it. If either of these guns interest you, I hope I gave you some meaningful information to help you make a choice, or help you at least narrow down what you would be interested in looking at for yourself. And if neither of these guns interest you, or you've already got them both, or you don't care about that, I hope it was at least entertaining, and I hope spending a few minutes with me was as fun as it was for me to spend making it for you. Did that make any sense at all? Well, you know, I just don't think this would be a very fair, or at least a very complete comparison between two handguns if I didn't play for you the song of my people. It's a good song. All right, guys, I am out of here. I will see you again soon, I hope. Take care.